Ultrasounds and medicine. Background. Ultrasounds are oscillating sound pressure wave with frequency above human hearing at about 20 kHz or above. People started to take interest in it around 1942. The first published work on it was by Dr. Karl Theodor Dusset from Austria on transmission ultrasound investigation of the brain. He endorsed the first person to put it into practice in medicine. He developed practical technology for ultrasound in the 1950s. He and Dr. Wallace Barr in 1955 used this machine, took samples of excised tumor and crystal ones and compared them. Afterwards, more people took interest and a group was formed. It was called American Institute of Ultrasonic in Medicine. How it works. Pulses are emitted by a transducer. The transducer takes the electrical pulse from the ultrasound machine and makes the transducer ring at a desired frequency. A gel medium is used to increase the proportion of waves getting inside the body. Waves are reflective of organs and are detected by the transducer when it comes out, and this is shown on the cathode ray oscilloscope. The higher the density, the higher the reflection, so the tissue-bone boundary has bigger reflection than tissue-muscle boundary. Types and uses. The first type is A-scan, which is amplitude scan. The pulses that are detected is shown on a graph of amplitude against time, and is used in echoencephalography, which detects the abnormalities in the cranial cavity in the brain, which is a gap between the two hemispheres. It is also used to destroy tumors, break kidney stones and gallstones. Not only in medicine, animals also use this kind of wave to look at their surroundings. For example, dolphins and bats. It's also used for sensors and measure of distance. The second type is B-scan, which is the brightness mode. It's where the brightness of reflection presents the proportion of energy reflected. There are two types, which is two-dimensional and three-dimensional. For two-dimensional scan, the transducer is swept across the surface, but for three-dimensional, a series of adjacent two-dimensional images are put together. It's also used in pregnancy scan. The most effective range is about 3 MHz and 200 wavelengths. This is better than X-rays because there's no long-term effects, because in X-ray the waves are ionizing. To form image the sonographic scanner must know time, the strength of echoes, and it must reduce the depth. Third type is C mode. The image is formed in a plane normal to a brightness mode image. The gate selects a specific depth from amplitude mode. The transducer is then moved in a two-dimensional plane to sample the entire region with a fixed depth. Then, transducer traverses the area in spiral so that the scan for the whole area can be very quick. The next type is the M mode, which is the motion mode. Ultrasound pulses are emitted very quickly, and each time the amplitude and brightness mode images are taken, and this is done over time so the velocity of organs can be found, and this can be used to measure the velocity of blood and etc. The next type is Doppler mode. It looks at a frequency shift of a particular sample. It is used in the study of blood flow and look at leakages and abnormalities in valves in the heart. Next type is contrast ultrasonography. It uses contrast medium sent to the bloodstream. It uses encapsulated gaseous microbubbles so blood can reflect the waves better. It's used in diagnosing tumors. because there's a contrast uptake of bubbles between the tumour and the tissue around it. It uses colours such as red to show the tumour is very malignant, or green and yellow, which means that it has a high probability of being malignant. Another type is molecular ultrasonography. It uses targeted microbubbles to diagnose malignant tumours at the earliest stage. The molecules bind to the tumoral microvessels, so these molecules accumulate in malignant tumours, and by using contrast ultrasonography, then the tumour can be seen. Uses. Not only in human ultrasounds used in animals, is also used for pregnancy scan and looking at muscles and tissues in animals and evaluate the health of animals for production in farms. Using ultrasonic cleaning, it uses about 40 Hz. It's used to clean surgical instruments, jewelry, lens. It's also used in humidifier, where the metal plate vibrates and produces ultrasonic frequency, which nebulize the water, producing mist. Advantages. It produces live images and it shows the structure of organs and no long-term side effects. It's widely available and not very expensive. Disadvantages. It cannot look through bones unlike X-rays, but improvements on it are being made. It's also limited with the brain and poor images if gas is present. This is because the waves doesn't pass through gas. For example, it's very difficult if the overlaying gas in the gastrointestinal tract is made difficult for scanning the pancreas. And there are also no scalp scans, unlike in MRI or CT scans where there are before and after images, but in ultrasounds there are only live images, and the quality is limited and it's operator dependent. Thank you.